You're here because? Just curious? Okay. How did you find out about us? How did you find out about us? Internet, okay. Are you local? Okay. Monticello, okay. Okay. Do you know what you're getting into tonight? Okay. We are discussing, or I'm giving a talk on a text, and tonight is the core of this text. It's the Heart Sutra. Everything that precedes it is laying the foundation. The Heart Sutra is part of the prajnaparamita genre, wisdom teachings. And it's one of the shortest texts. It centers around emptiness. So the text begins with the protagonist, Avalokiteshvara, embodiment of compassion. How this particular bodhisattva contemplated emptiness and its relation to form, and extending beyond that. Insight into emptiness. It dismantles every Buddhist teaching from the 5 skandhas. All this is online. You can catch up on the video recordings. The 5 skandhas, the 18 realms, 6 sense faculty, encountering 6 sense object, giving rise to 6 cognitive moments of consciousness. Right? This Buddhist analysis of this tripartite relationship between what constitutes a human being. There's nothing that lies outside realms. And then goes into 12 link chains of dependent origination, pratitya samappada, from ignorance, birth, all the way to death. No birth and no death. And then it goes into, before that it goes into the 5 skandhas and 18 realms, 12 link chains of dependent origination, 4 noble truths, which is covered the last time. And tonight is the punchline. A lot of people think when they read about the Heart Sutra, they think the teaching is on emptiness. Emptiness is form. Form is emptiness. That's just laying the foundation. It's a kind of, you could say, analytical or dead emptiness. What I mean by that is it's kind of intellectualized. Experientially, emptiness begins tonight. So the text continues with, there is no wisdom or any attainment. Now, the whole Buddhist tradition centers around wisdom. It is wisdom that overcomes the fundamental ignorance, which is the first of the 12 link chains of dependent origination. Right? Misguided views, perceptions of selfing and othering. This is something that's very fundamental to how we live our lives. It is also due to ignorance that we experience suffering. We bask in it. We completely tether to it. Cannot divorce ourselves from it It's what we identify with. And the whole Buddhist project could be said to center around wisdom. It is wisdom that liberates. What is this wisdom? Of course, the Heart Sutra explains emptiness, selflessness. Selflessness of not only the individual being, but also selflessness of phenomenal reality, the dharmas, even the teachings. So that lays the foundation. So tonight, the text goes, there is no wisdom or any attainment, but with nothing to attain, bodhisattvas realizes prajnaparamita. Prajna means wisdom. Paramita means transcendent wisdom. So why does it say the whole Buddhist tradition centers around wisdom? Why does it say there's no wisdom, nor is there any attainment? So this is very important because this is how we live our lives. We want to get something. It's a kind of exchange. We do something, we want to get something out of it. And when it is said that there's nothing to attain, you don't get anything out of it. Does that sound attractive? What is it that we want to get? Who is it that's getting? Well, all of us begin the practice because on some level, however deep is buried within this existential question each of us experience. Now the world has conditioned us with distractions, so we don't ask this fundamental question of who are we? What is it? Right? What is it that's experiencing this moment? Witnessing this form? Who is the witnesser? Because of this not knowing and this lived and felt experience of there's something inside that's actually experiencing, looking, seeing, hearing, thinking. And our inability to understand this. And even though we don't understand it, we don't see it, based on our lived experience, there's a deep assumption, and the whole world is in on constructing, fortifying this assumption that there's a me, I, mine that lies in the center of our experience. Because of our grasp, deep identity, backed up with our lived experiences, with the sense of me, I, mine, From the Buddhist analysis, that's precisely where suffering begins. For example, when someone does something harmful to you, verbally, physically, there's a deep sense of opposition. This is being done to me. How dare this person? Or I'm hurt. I'm in pain. Because of this deep sense of identity with this, even though we don't know exactly who is this I, we have no idea. But we do have this sense of grasping identity. We're taught to think this way. We're conditioned, and the whole world shapes us in this way. Furthermore, we are biologically and neurologically wired to produce a kind of subjecthood. Right? So when we see something, our brain is wired. For example, we see a form, and the sensory data, which is just synaptic firings, directly feeds into the occipital cortex, the visual cortex, which simulates what we actually see with a mental representation. We're not really touching what's seen. Your brain doesn't actually go outside your skull. It lives inside of a dark cave of your skull. So it's not an actual touching. It's not an actual experiencing. It's an electrical signals. And the visual cortex produces a simulation of what is happening, filtered through our past experiences. All the information that's absent in what we are seeing, it's provided, reproduced, and constructed based on memory, lived experiences, in other words, baggage, to fill in the missing pieces. And then we're actually responding to our own mental constructs. Right? But because we do not know that this construct doesn't actually exist, it is completely, through and through, simulated by yourself. It is based on past experience, means history. You don't live in a vacuum. It is your past that's informed the actual present simulation experience. But the past itself is drawn from misguided conclusions, fragmented, biased perceptions. So from the very inception, what we are experiencing, the particular harm, the particular, verbal abuse or whatever that we experience, from the very inception, it's already wrong. Because of the simulation process, it produces subjecthood. That's part of the kind of self that's neurologically produced. We have to have that. Unless you're on LSD or some drugs, or there's some lesion in the pathway of the synaptic firing, then the subjecthood that you project and you simulate, construct, could be off. You may feel you're actually one with whatever that you're seeing. Or you may fabricate a kind of a state in which the subject and the object, which are all produced by yourself, it's actually merged. If your brain is working properly, it should produce subjecthood. But we mistaken the subjecthood for the subject. There is no subject. It's an assumption. It's simulated, filtered through the baggage. And anything that we feel, that we experience, because of this deep-rooted assumption, not only neurologically based, but the whole world fortifies this, reifies this, solidifies our experiences. We experience anguish, trauma, stress, and suffering. One of the functions, you could say, of subjecthood, subjectivity, the sense of me, I, mine. Conditioned by our past experiences, is to help us to navigate through the world. And one of the ways to help us to navigate through the world is to identify danger, threat. All that, neurologically speaking, it's natural function. That's not where suffering begins. It's just a natural functioning. In the prehistoric time, it used to be saber-toothed tigers that's chasing us. We're wired to identify danger, right? So we run for survival. Right? But now, saber-toothed tiger could be your boss, could be someone's words, could be the way people dressed, could be skin color, could be the way people appear. It could be anything. And from that basic instinctual good and bad, meaning threat and peace, non-threat. From that basic polarity, it gives rise to a multitude of other polarities, like having, lacking, success, failure. Right? Beautiful, ugly. And we can, and these byproducts can be turned around to ourselves, a self that doesn't actually exist, that's actually simulated. In other words, the functioning of our mind can create a narrative of ourselves and turn around to attack it. ourselves. You're ugly. You're no good. You're not worthy. You're never good enough. You can't do it. You're a failure. You see? He can even objectify ourselves as a reified thing to attack it. But because the whole world is in on it, the whole world fortifies what and dictates what is beautiful, what is success, and what is not. We integrate. We learn this. We allow it to condition us, to shape our sense of simulated self, to be in a particular way. Suffering comes from our identity, not the neurological function. When Buddhism talks about no self, they don't mean the function of being able to identify, okay, that's a tiger chasing me. I should be running, right? The natural functioning, hunger, right? Thirst, danger, safety. These are all natural functioning. But when that functioning go awry, because the attachment is there, and you start to turn around and solidify a false sense of me, I, mine, and start to attack ourselves with it, and to other people, and start to attack other people with it, that's where suffering begins. So the culprit is attachment. Right? And the reason the Heart Sutra talks about emptiness is form, form is emptiness, and start to dismantle all the Buddhist teachings as well, is because people can turn around and attach Buddha Dharma and to use it as a measuring stick for oneself and for other people. Right? So this deep-rooted drive, craving for selfing, othering, having, lacking, success, failure, now is applied to Buddhism, to Dharma practice. So, it is natural. All of us are here. We begin to practice because we feel like we need it. Right? We need the teaching. We're stressed from work, family. That's why we're here. We want to get some peace. We want to get something out of it. Right? It's normal. And we could get something out of it. If you meditate, learn to relax, you will feel at peace. You will quiet down the sympathetic nervous system. Right? And to experience peace and quietude. But that won't get you to the root of the question. The root of the question is this grasping, this strong sense of identity. Right? And to make this simple to understand, what is this identity? The Buddhists talk about this jargon, attachment. What is that? It is the tendency to make everything into a thing. Once we make it into a thing, simultaneously we're selfing and we're othering. And then we want to have it. And then all the issues, having, lacking. I want to get it. I want to get peace. I want to get awakened. Right? and this illusion of security from having, from success, from gaining. Right? We have slogans in the world: more the better, right? More the merrier. Is it really true? More the merrier? Right? What about hoarders? They got a lot of things. Are they happy? Right? This illusion. Right? So, the essence of Dharma practice does not lie in successful sessions of Buddhist meditation. Does not lie in gaining insights and wisdom. Does not lie in having blissful experiences. Right? Those are all reified into things. They become a kind of material spiritualism. Right? It's the same thing that the habit of selfing is doing. Before, we're into kind of material objects. Once we start the spiritual practice, we make spiritual attainment into things. So, in order to dismantle this, to get to the root of the issue, and genuine peace and happiness that does not come from having, lacking, gaining, losing, success, failure. Not that kind of happiness. Genuine happiness. Freedom. Wisdom just means freedom. We have to first expose, embrace, work with, and then let go. If we don't know what to let go, or we're confused about what to let go, like good and bad, right? Having, lacking, success, failure, doesn't mean, you give up your job, you move to the mountain, or you give up your car, you don't need to walk anymore. Nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Right? We have to understand, what is it? Expose this tendency. What is it? That's a fundamental selfing and othering. And then accept it, because there's a history to why we are the way we are. You can't deny your past. You have to. That's why the third thing is, work with it. Because each and every one of you have a particular way of being. Why you are the way you are. There's a history to it. So your path unfolds differently than other people. So you have to work with it. And then you work with it to become free from it. Does that make sense? Now, there are some principles. Tonight I want to talk about contemplation of non-attainment and contemplation of non-attachment, which I'll call non-abiding. Abide, dwell, reify, non-abiding. Okay. As practice. But I want to lay the foundation out on what is it that we abiding? What is it that we identify with fundamentally? Or commonly, I should say. How does the self manifest? Understanding this, then we'll understand what does it mean by no wisdom, right? No attainment. Therefore, bodhisattvas reach liberation. It doesn't stop it. No attainment, nothing, just kill me now. Or just suicide, it's nothing. That's just nihilism. Right? No attainment, no grasping, no reification, solidification of self and othering. Therefore, liberation. What is it that's free? Right? So, some of the common things that we identify with, this is all part of the contemplation. So it's not a sitting meditation contemplation, but it's in daily life. You have to expose your motivation and intention and expectation. These three. Motivation, intention, expectation. With regards to Ming Li Cai. Ming Li 权位势财 名利权位势财 6 things. Okay? It's in Chinese. I'm going to translate it. Okay? First thing is fame. Fame. Which also relates to recognition. You want to be recognized. Right? Second, benefit. Benefit. Something that's good for me. All of these things assumes a fixed, reified notion of me, I, mine that actually doesn't exist. So, fame, benefit. Benefit includes support, includes friendship. I'm not saying after practice you give up on friendship. That's not it. It's that tendency of seeking and really identifying yourself with it. It's that fixation. It's not the object himself. Okay? Benefit. Third thing, authority, power, or you could say control. That's a big one. That's a big one. Not only do we seek control of things around us, we seek control of other people. And we seek control of ourselves. Like the manager mind. Constantly managing things. Dictating your thoughts. Even your meditation practice, the manager mind wants to get its hands in it. You should do that. Oh, you're doing a good job. Good job. Keep on doing it. Oh, you got it. Why'd you lose it? Damn you. Go back to it. Previous sitting is much better, so try to get back to it. We're trying to manage. All of these things give the illusion of security. Why do we need security? Because we assume I'll be better with it. Okay? Fourth one, position, status. As in recognition of your job, promotion, right? Workspace. Again, it's not that when we practice Dharma, we give up on promotion. No. Promotion doesn't define you. What I'm talking about is identity. Promotion, you will feel You identify with it. If I don't get it, then I'm worthless. So, 名利权威. So status, positionality. Position also in relationships. The last one. Oh, the fifth one, not the last one. Sphere of influence. Being influential. You may not have the status. You may give up on status. But you want to be able to influence other people. Right? And then last one. Wealth. Wealth. Right? So, 名利权位是财. So we have to remember them first, because ordinarily these 6 are the 6 big ones. Right? That's so common, so natural. We feel a sense of entitlement to it. And we're habituated into it. Right? So we have to memorize them first, and then learn to observe the tendency. Behind that is a sense of self. So first one is recognition, fame. Right? Second, benefit or support. Authority, power. Status, position. Sphere of influence. And then wealth. Right? And when I say the whole world is in on it, you can see all these things in the world around us. Right? If you're a Martian coming down on Earth for some statistical study, and you landed in Target or Walmart or Barnes & Noble, you look at the magazine stands. You don't even have to read the books, the magazines. Just on the cover, you will get these 6. That will be the thesis. That's the thesis of American or Western or modern pop culture. It is these 6 that's privileged, and it's on the cover of everything. That's just a magazine stand. The whole industries. There are industries that are created to fortify this. That's how we are brainwashed. We don't even know it. It's so assumed and integrated into every aspect of our life that we can't see it anymore. Only if you can find a difference. For example, you, live in the woods for a year, 2 years, and then you come back, then you will see everything clearly. Or you're just a Martian, right? You're not of this place. You look at the magazine covers, all you see is fame, benefit or profit, gaining support, right? Power, authority. Status. Influence. And bling bling. Wealth. It's everywhere. It's saturated into every aspect, such that it becomes the norm. We feel entitled. We're driven by it. And whole institutions, from education to state to private corporation, everything fortifies this. Right? Like our education system. they don't really privilege the humanities. They privilege business school, right? Funding goes to business school. You see? That's what I mean by the whole world thing on that. So it's blind to us anymore. It's just second nature. It's norm. And we're driven by it. We don't even know why. Until you get to middle age, then we call it, you have a middle age crisis. Because you're actually reflecting critically, why am I doing this for my life? No. You want to keep on doing it. Right? Society calls that middle age crisis, but actually you're kind of almost like snapping out of it. I'm joking, of course, but there's a little bit of truth in that, right? So you first have to expose this tendency to fortify yourself, to identify yourself. Ways in which you identify yourself, fortify yourself through these 6. External. Then, internal. Internal, first thing, your thoughts. Second, your feelings. Third, your values. Your values. And fourth, your spiritual practice, your methods. The spiritual method, Buddhism talks about wisdom. You have to gain wisdom. You have to liberate yourself from suffering. So it has a whole set of values, new values that we learn. Right? These needs to be dismantled. You have to have a foundation first. Start from the external forms and appearances to observe the ways in which selfing come into being. Right? Kind of identity. You know? These external things. And then internal things. Our thoughts, feelings, feeling tones, values, judgments, and even our practice, spiritual practice. Right? Whatever we identify ourselves with. It's not to say we give them up. We have to expose and understand. Remind yourself that I cannot be reduced to this. There's so much more than just this. I'm not defined by this. It doesn't matter if it's recognition or status or bling bling or your values, your thoughts. Because take thoughts and values, for example. What will happen if you truly listen to your own narrative? That's a precarious place because sometimes your thoughts can turn yourself around and attack it. You're not good enough. You going to listen to that? Do you know what I'm saying? Undependable, not dependable. You have to expose that. You are already free. This freedom that's within you this freedom that's within you, untethered, unbound by any of these things. That is your resting place. If you rest your sense of self, your value, your judgment on your career, not everything goes your way. Right? What about friends? Benefit that belongs to the benefit. Right? Support. It's good if you're lucky. But sometimes friends turn to foe. Friends, sometimes they just move away. Your support system can crumble. Right. One virus going around, coronavirus, the whole support system are on shaky grounds. Right? So we get it from something else. Zoom. The people that invest in Zoom, they got a lot of investment, probably made billions. Right? This way that we identify ourselves gives a sense of illusion of security, safety. Right? We're so much more beyond any of these. What is it that's free? Right? Unbound, untethered to them. We'll talk about contemplation in a bit. So first step is to memorize these, external, internal, and learn to recognize the ways in which selfing and othering sneak up on us and fortifies itself, cherishes itself, solidifies itself, creating comfort zones. You got to challenge your comfort zone. Little by little. Don't suddenly give up. You will feel unsupported. You will feel your support system, on shaky ground. Little by little, poke at it. And being okay with it. Right? Being okay, being alone. Solitude. Being okay. You can go down the list. People don't recognize you. I do this work. I want to get recognized. I'm not saying don't do the work. Part of our practice, my teacher trained us, always do 110% with everything that you do. Body and mind. Offer yourself. As for whether you get recognized or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And the truth is, you'll get recognized. Right? It'll all work out in the end. But you don't let that recognition be a kind of weight weighing on your heart, your mind, dictating your intention, motivation, and expectation. I said, watch these three. Right? Go down the list. Expose. Right? What do we do? It's not a conceptual practice. We come back to the body. Relax, ground. Just relax. Feel the weight at the base. This has the effect of diffusing the neurological mechanism of grasping and rejecting, driven by the amygdala, sending signal to hippocampus. Oh, I send out stress hormone. There's a race, competition, let's go. Just do your best. You diffuse that. You see it coming, diffuse that. Relax, ground, just do your best. Not be driven by having, lacking, wanting, needing, success, failure, good and bad, gaining, losing. Right? That's precisely how the self manifests. And it's all founded on nothing. This me, I, mine, the center of your judgment, is just a conglomeration, accumulation of habit tendencies. So, recognize it, it's fine. Don't suppress it. Don't follow it either. You do what needs to be done. In your position, what needs to be done, your job. What this moment requires. And what can be done. What needs to be done, what can be done. Right? In seated meditation, so in daily life is like this. In seated meditation, same thing. Once you get into a habit, so practice is not limited to a posture. All aspects of your life, you must expose this tendency. So in seated meditation, it's the same. How do you feel when you have a lot of distracting, wandering thoughts? Do you feel annoyed, frustrated? If you do, you want to get something. It's not to say we just allow scatteredness to run free. What needs to be done, what can be done is bring it back to the method. Expose, we see exactly that drive. It's all good. Bring it back to the method. You have to see it. If you don't see it, you're driven by it. Your intention for going back to the method, it's actually driven by greed, not what needs to be done. Do you know what I'm saying? So, it's driven by gaining, losing. I want wisdom. I want liberation. I want clarity. Oh. Right. So when we practice seated meditation, there are some steps. In Chan, I'm going to divert a little bit and I'll bring it back. Okay? In Chan, we speak about 3 very important axioms. This is laid out in the Platform Sutra. No thought. In the midst of thought. Not just no thought. Right? No form. In the midst of form, appearances. And non-abiding. Dwelling. So no thought in the midst of thought means the problem is not thoughts. The problem is identifying. That's the definition of the first thought, no thought. In the midst of thinking. That means no identifying, reification in the midst of thinking, which is creative. Right? Natural creativity. No fixed thought. Right? No form. So this is actually very important. We could say it's the goal. And I don't mean no thought literally. If I were to mean that, then it would be very easy. So everyone just line up, I take a hammer, whack you over the head, you go into a coma, no thought, right? I don't mean that. So it's creativity, creative thinking, being able to engage in thought, yet the thoughts are freed, not reifying, not solidifying the thoughts, right? Not fixating on the thoughts. Right? Thoughts themselves liberate themselves. When you're sitting, you don't need to control them. That's one of the tendencies that we have. You don't need to control them. You don't need to suppress them. They liberate themselves. The natural wonder, marvelous splendor of their true nature is they free themselves. So it's just openness. Soon as we reify, start to identify, grasp onto them, that's where trouble begins. So that is kind of like the goal. But in order to do this, we got to practice no form. So no form in the midst of being form, amidst the form, is actually the tool. That's the method. Right? And this can apply to what I said before. The 6 aspects from fame and recognition all the way to the 6th one, last one, bling bling, right? Wealth. All 6, they evolve around form. All those are forms, appearances, characteristics. Right? So practicing no form in the midst of form means we have to begin with form. We have to do what needs to be done, what can be done, and engage in the practice, which is a form. Your method is a form. It takes a particular form. Engaging form and understand the form itself doesn't define you. Engaging your work, create wealth, and understand the wealth doesn't define you. My teacher used to say, you should have money in your pocket. You shouldn't have money here. If you're always thinking about money, and in your pockets, nothing, not good. You should have a lot of stuff in your pocket, except it doesn't define you. See? So money, it's like water. It nourishes. It can also damage. Right? So money itself is not a problem. It depends on how it's used. For example, we're raising money to build resident hall in the 5 acres in the back. So people that come here to do retreats, they can have a very comfortable space, practice a sense of security. We can have residency program where people can live here for a summer, for a year, for 2 years to deepen their practice. So it's needed. Form is needed. But the form and the money that's needed doesn't define the Tallahassee Chan Center. Right? The Tallahassee Chan Center, it's in our heart. It's in our practice. But having the form, that's what people need. Right? That's what we will provide. So, when we engage in with form. We always start with form. But while we engage in the form, we understand that it doesn't define us. It doesn't limit us. Does that make sense? So, recognition, benefit, power, authority, status, position, influence, even wealth. None of these 6 things are problems. All of these 6 things we should engage with to the best of our ability. Not for our self-referential need, but for the benefit of others. Does that make sense? Yeah. So don't mistake what needs to be abandoned, what needs to be detached. It's not your job. It's not quit this. It's not you don't need friends anymore. It's not you don't need money anymore. Nothing to do with that. Right? But you have to expose the ways in which these 6 things fortifies, reifies, solidify your sense of identity. You see? Intention, motivation, expectation. Engage in form, yet no form. That's why the second principle, first one is no thought in the midst of thought. That's the goal. Right? Full creativity without reification. Understanding the nature of words and language and thought. Right? Understanding freedom. Goal. The method, engaging form. In the midst of form, no form. Okay. And the foundation of these 2 is the third principle, which is non-abiding. Non-abiding. So, now that we have segued, bring it back to the seated meditation practice. In seated meditation practice, there are stages. We have to engage in form. We have to have a method of practice. You can't begin with, I'm just sitting here just in a daze, no method, I don't know what I'm doing. It must be effective. Right? And effective means you resonate with it. You can't use the method, you have no connection, you don't feel connected, you have no history with it. Like some people are more visual. Some people are more kind of linguistic. Some people are more feeling tone. Right? We're not just one of these things. I'm speaking in terms of percentage. Like for example, when you think back on an event that you had in the past that's made some important thing effect on you. When you think back, do you remember mainly the takeaway visually? Or do you remember the words that were spoken at that time? Or do you, when you recall that memory, it's mostly the feeling that it conjures up? Most likely we're kind of a mixture of these 2, but if you observe yourself, then you will find what method of practice will resonate with you. Because you may be the visual type. You may be the feeling tone type, right? Or you may be the words and language in which counting the breath will be effective. If you're the feeling tone, embodied experiencing, being in tune with undercurrent feeling tone. And the way to access that is to be in the body. Right? If you're the more visual type, then you may need a method that's more appropriate. Loving kindness, for example. You visualize, see? So when you stumble upon a method, practice for some time, some familiarity, and you really resonate, That's the method. Right? So start with a form, identify the method that's useful to you, and then move on to the second stage in which you're able to stay with the method. Stay with it. As you stay with it, the extraneous things will begin to drop away, right? Including the object of meditation, leaving you with the raw experiencing of the method. So, for example, the breath. In the beginning, you may need a lot of crutch. Right? The sensation, cool, warm, shallow, deep, silky, coarse, turbulent, less turbulent, cold, warm, all these things is happening. A lot of crutch, you may need that. And you're embodying, experiencing this. As the sensations start to fall away, because the breath becomes more subtle, these coarse sensations will begin to fade away, leaving you with just the experiencing. No wandering thoughts, just the experiencing. But you need an anchor still. It may be the rise and fall of the abdomen, the tactile, somatic rise and fall. After the rise and fall, because your body is completely relaxed, and you're kind of embodied experiencing this, this may fall away too, leaving you with a sense of groundedness. Just a sense of being grounded. Upper body, light as a feather. Right? So, not so much that which you're experiencing, cold, warm, shallow, deep, silky, coarse, the object, that falls away. What remains? The experience. On a subtle level, the rise and fall, just the abdomen, right? Experiencing it. As this begins to subside, what remains? What remains is just the experiencing, the palpable experiencing. Now, in that state, the most concrete, palpable experience may be a sense of stillness, the object of meditation. Right? So a sense of stillness, motionlessness remains. That may subside, leaving you with a palpable sense of silence. That may subside too, until it leaves you with just experiencing. And that experiencing now is the least amount of form. Right? We engage in form, right, to experience formlessness, right? The least amount of form. In that state, it's just freshness, alive, potent freshness, moment to moment to moment to moment. Just that freshness. Right? So that is in closer alignment with no form. Right? No form is not vacuity, a stagnation of stillness. It's that experiencing itself. And the experiencing is alive, moment to moment to moment to moment. You know, that clarity. So I'm just laying out a trajectory. You know, sometimes people can stumble into it. Doesn't need to go kind of sequentially like that. You know, sometimes people need a sequence. So whatever way, this is basically from scattered mind to a concentrated mind. Concentrated to unified. Unified to this kind of vibrancy of experiencing. with the least amount of form and appearances. It's just the freshness. Right? That is the practice of non-abiding. Non-abiding. So in that state, it may be subtle thoughts arising, but thoughts liberate themselves. It's just a vivid vibrancy. Moment-to-moment freshness. Right? Non-clinging. Everything flows through. Nothing sticks. Right? That kind of methodless method. Is that awakening? No. That is just a practice that's in alignment with non-abiding, which is the foundation. Right? No thought in the midst of thought. No form in the midst of form. So in seated meditation, one can get into a very subtle state of this formlessness, methodless method. Both of these founded on non-abiding. So this is a state. It's actually a practice. It's the practice of kind of a meditation on emptiness. Not in the sense of analytical emptiness, going through the logic of why things are empty, why things are dependently originated. You're not engaging thoughts. This is the embodied phenomenological experience of emptiness, which is just, to simply put, just freshness, contentless. Usually we're caught up with objects, that which we are experiencing, right? This is just the experiencing itself. It has no content. It's just freshness. Right? So when a person gain more familiarity with this, then the daily practice, the exposing, embracing, working with, letting go, that process of all the things that we attach to, and the meditation practice will begin to merge, will begin to fortify each other. Right? So responding to circumstances, engaging with the world in the midst of helping other people, we will not other people. We will not selfing ourselves. So it begins this deepening of freedom until that self-referencing suddenly drops away. That is called awakening, Buddhist awakening. Right? It's no longer a practice anymore. So engaging in wisdom, yet no wisdom to be attained. Wisdom is nothing. It's not something reified. Right? Yet engage. So we start with memorizing the 6 common ways in which we identify ourselves internally, from thoughts to feelings to values to even our method, these 4. We learn to recognize and not reify. Then our thoughts and the way we carry ourselves, the functioning of our mind becomes freer. So the containers that binds us, the labels that fortify our experiences, no more. It doesn't deny the container. The container no longer applies to you, but you see the function of the labels, function of the containers, the usefulness in order to help other people. You see? So in the midst of the world, yet not defined by it. That's the practice. Does that make sense? Right. So tonight, I spoke about really the crux of Dharma practice. It's the most important part. No wisdom, no attainment. Precisely because of this, bodhisattvas become bodhisattvas. They recognize transcendent wisdom. So I hope it's concrete enough. You should have a lot of takeaways, right? We know what to do. The 6 common areas externally, the 4 internal ways in which we solidify ourselves, and then the seated meditation, how we kind of merge activity and stillness, start to strengthen each other. And without this principle, then practice can just be another way that we fortify, reify selfing and othering. So that freedom that you have, right, can fully manifest. The manifestation of the freedom is compassion. Right? It's not just being a nice person. Sometimes we need to, so in the Buddhist iconography, sometimes the bodhisattvas appear like wrathful, right? Because it's needed. Sentient beings needed. So the way how the wisdom manifests through us without the hindrance and obscuration of self caught in it, how it manifests what needs to be done, what can be done when we engage with the world. Right? Your perception becomes agile. Your perception becomes free because you have no containers, but you recognize different kind of containers, different kind of aptitudes, different calibers of potential in people because you've gone through it, the practice. So your response, in Chan we call it, it's like a cover to the container, perfect. Right? Or it's like shooting arrows, the point meet. So with precision and with compassion. So when we engage with other people. So that's the wisdom and compassion of Buddhism. It doesn't take a fixed form. It doesn't have a fixed form. It manifests and unfolds according to what needs to be done, what can be done under different circumstances. Right? But the process of this working, each one of us, as I say in the beginning of the talk, each one of us manifests this differently because our upbringings are different, our hang-ups are different. Right? What we're working with, our containers are different. So we have to expose, accept that, recognize that, work through, and then we begin to free ourselves from it. Okay? All right. Any questions?
Thank you. You mentioned concepts that seem to reflect obvious suffering, which is obviously not wanted. But you also shed some light on the concept of also some affirmative things that could also reify the self. And so how do we navigate a world where we have both sides of the spectrum of emotion, like pleasure and joy and things like that? Should we attempt to diffuse that mechanism as well? Is this realm a realm that we should embrace enjoyment and pleasure as well?
We navigate it, we work with what we have, and we work with how we experience. In the midst of enjoying, in the midst of engaging, the happiness to sorrow and all the range in between, that's how our path unfolds. In the midst of that, we're not defined by it, but we can fully experience it. So, it's not the object. I must stress this again. It's not like object that's problem. That's the culprit. This person is a jerk. It's not or the money or the status or the recognition or the feeling or the thoughts or the value. It's not that. We can have all of that. But what we are exposing is our tendency to justify ourselves, reify our self-referentiality through them. The sense of entitlement, right? So, our past shape us a certain way. That's what we're working with. You see? So, people who are introvert, they're going to be introvert. People who are extrovert, you don't try to change them to become introvert. They're going to be extrovert. People who are intelligent, people who have had difficulties in their life, difficult experiences in their life in the past that will shape their experience. But through practice, we learn that I'm not defined by that. You see? So, freshness, possibilities, openness. For example, when we see something, a scenery. Recently, I posted an image on my Facebook page. It's an image of Destin, that particular view, sunset. And it brought up melancholy. Melancholy. Because of various things in my life. Right? They actually happened. It's not imagined. Right? And someone says, we should be happy. Why should we experience melancholy? Sadness is never good. So that's a tendency of wanting everything to be happy. Melancholy. And I said, there's great possibilities in melancholy. And the person said, possibilities in melancholy? What possibility can there be there? Because we completely avail ourselves to it. We don't suppress it, nor do we follow it. But the reason why the melancholic feeling arises because of particular instances, actual history, things in the past that shape these feelings. You understand? When they arise, when we reify them, oh yeah, I am sad, I am terrible. You're through, you're broken. When these things arise, because they actually happen, this is how this particular person unfolds. Don't suppress, don't reify, allow them to flow through. In that openness, there's possibilities. And there's insight. Insight to gain into how the self tend to narrate certain things. You see that? Now someone else look at sunset. They can see something completely different. right? Why did this person see the sunset in that particular spot, which has a history? And memories come up. Why did this person express it in that way? There's great insight to be gained. There's great freedom there. Do you understand? It's not, oh, melancholy, suppress. I'm supposed to be happy. Just happiness. I'm a Dharma practitioner. I should be happy. No, in sadness, in melancholy, experience melancholy through and through, fully. In joy, happiness, experience joy and happiness through and through, yet nothing defines you. Freedom. That's how one transcends suffering. Suffering comes from reification. It doesn't come from memory. If it was that easy, we just go have some surgery, erase that memory. Then you're liberated. All there's left is just happiness. That's not Buddha Dharma. Do you know what I'm saying? So there are particular ways in which we have become, conventionally speaking, our sense of self that's uniquely yours. That is precisely where your path unfolds. The Dharma. Liberate yourself. Freshness. Non-reification. Flow through. So much potential, so much possibilities, so much insight. Right? Soon as we draw some conclusions about this and that, stuck, caught, we're through. You see? So that's how we navigate. Everything we experience, every encounter is the path. Is the path. If you expose, embrace, and let go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. That's what makes practice so joyous, delightful in the midst of suffering. You know, there's so much freedom in everything. Freedom, not defined by, not tethered. So much more efficacious than psychotherapy. The psychotherapy may be a process to help us see, they may help us to change one narrative with another, right? That's more functional, but we can go even a step beyond. No narrative define you. No container can hold you. That's the freedom. Non-abiding. B.
Hi, Guo Gu. Two questions for you.
Okay.
The first, can you tell me the source of the 6 ways that we, it's escaping
We
me.
identify
Fame,
ourselves,
benefit,
yeah,
wealth.
okay.
Is that?
It's scattered in the Buddhist text. This is
Oh.
my conglomeration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can find all of these 6, in the early text and also in Mahayana text.
Okay.
And also the internal thoughts, feelings, values, and method is also in the sutras.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's maybe connect to my second question. So you've told me a number of times about not in settings like this, about expose, embrace, work through, and let go. Exposing and embracing, to me, I feel like, okay, I kind of get how that works. I don't always see it, but I can see when I see it. I feel like I kind of understand seeing, and I understand embracing, even if I don't always do it. But I've always been a little cloudy on working through, and I've never asked you about it. Is working through just the continual process of seeing and embracing plus practice? Is it something else? What is working through?
Working through, thank you for the question. You work through with the three principles of no thought, no form, non-abiding.
Okay.
And out of the three, no thought is the goal, non-abiding is the foundation. Not foundation in a sense of rudimentary, foundation in a sense of like that's the core, right? And the tool, the method is no form. So you work through that process by remembering these three, mindful of these three, and using form as an entryway, because that's the method. Right? Bring yourself back to the method and all the teachings that I've given on embodied experiencing. When we encounter difficulty, go back to the body, release. As the method of practice.
Okay.
So these are the three principles that all the things that I've said actually can fall under. It's like the map.
Okay.
So exposing, embracing, that falls under that too.
Okay.
So we have to have form. We have to have form. We have to have a method. We have to have clear understanding. Right? How to use it. When we can do that, that's our entry point.
Okay.
We don't rely on our habit tendency or intellectualization to work through. Because thoughts, they change. They're not really reliable. Intellectualization can be hijacked by the sense of selfing. So it's not so reliable. So we have to embody it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Liz?
So a lot of us talk about buttons that get pushed. So like anger buttons, shame buttons, and
Yeah.
those are more feelings. And you may or may not know how the button got made. So I'm going into that again. I guess it's not that clear, not clear enough for me anyway. So the no thought, let's say I'm going through a shame button and I'm feeling all this shame, okay? So it's feelings. I can go into the thought and think, oh, yeah, this is in the past and I I did all that. But so then there's no thought with thought, so
You don't approach it with no thought. You approach it with, that's the goal. You can't do it. We can't do it. We go through it with form,
and that's going back to breathing.
being the body.
So not stop.
So these
No, don't follow.
buttons,
Yeah.
they're not completely feeling tones. Behind that is a value system. Remember? Thoughts, feeling, value, even the Buddhist teaching, spiritual path. There's a whole value system there. So if we bring ourselves to a space of openness without defense mechanisms, then we can see that value. clear. How do you bring yourself? Don't use thoughts. You don't go there. No thoughts, no thoughts. That's past. That's just talking. That won't work. You have to engage in somatic practice, right? You have to come to the body, diffuse the mechanism, the chemical that's flushing through your body directly, the stress hormones, cortisol. You have to short circuit that. Your body completely relaxed, feel grounded. If you can't feel grounded, you just the tension may be up here. Even use your finger, just follow it here. Like actually follow the tactile sensations, right? Or down here and just feet. Somatically, right? Once stress or defense is short-circuited, then you're in a better place to see the value system. Even when the emotions are still present, it's okay. Ground yourself in the body and allow it to flow through. Like the melancholy that I felt. Ground yourself, allow it to flow through. Then you see exactly how this architect is creating this house, this narrative. You see exactly. You're not suppressing it. You're not denying it either. When the Buddha became awakened, he said, "Architect, I see the house that you're making. The house is no more." So we have to see that. We have to feel through our way through it. We have to experience it. You can't just deny it, use a method to suppress it, right? You have to embody, ground. For little things like wandering thoughts, there's no insight behind that. It's just habits, like an old tape recorder. But for stronger emotions, you gotta see, you gotta face the architect, the selfing. See how exactly that manifests. But you have to have an anchor.
Is that part of the expose, accept?
That's part of the accepting, embracing, grounding in the body, and completely avail yourself to it.
Okay. Now, what if you still have wandering thoughts? Because
That's fine.
it is fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Wandering thoughts. The architect is made up of thoughts. If you want to see how they build this house, give it. Let's go. Here's all the ammunition you have. Let's see how you build it. You see? Don't be afraid. You have to have the courage to surrender and avail yourself. And again, you have to personally discover that you're not broken by it. You come out exactly fine. And then that insight will start to sink in. You're not afraid to face the difficulties. Face it frontally. You know? And if you want to cry in the middle, you cry. If you want to laugh, you just laugh. It's all good. IAG. It's all good. You know? But it can't be intellectualized. As soon as you intellectualize it, think your way through it. That's the way we're conditioned. We try to solve our problem by thinking way. It won't work. You have to embody, feel palpably grounded, allow it to flow through. How does it flow through? Thoughts, memories, snapshots, feeling tones, or words. You know, 3 basic types of people. Some people, when they recall things, it's the feeling. Other people, it's the visual. Sometimes talking. You ever seen people sometimes when they think of something, they're actually talking. I can't believe this. Language, Other times it's like visual moments in time. Right? And others, it's not really, it's just feelings that arises. It's all made up of thoughts. All made up of thoughts. It's just a matter of subtlety. So just allow it to go through. Okay? Yeah. And then, alongside of this, we study Buddha Dharma. We study the teachings, the benefit of compassion, the benefit of forgiveness. Yeah. All those miscellaneous teachings, there are thousands of them. They will begin to cohere if you have the scaffolding of practice, which is what I'm talking about tonight. If you have the scaffolding, all these teachings will start to make sense. If you don't have the basic principles, it's just piecemeal. You're just using that to suppress something else, actually. So you must understand the principle, non-abiding, freedom. How does it manifest? Through forms and thoughts. But non-abiding is the fundamental. Right? So you go at it through form. Right? And your relationship with the form of your thoughts and value, that's also form, will be no thoughts in the midst of thoughts. See? So remember, right? The 6 things, external, the 4 internal, the union of daily practice, daily reflection, activity, engaging with stillness practice. Stillness practice will allow you to go deeper, right? Systematically, from a lot of wandering through a lot of sensation to minimum, to embodiment, to just experiencing freshness, non-abiding. Right? So your practice will become integrated. Yeah. Okay. All right. Have a good night.